Well, again, I would like to reiterate the fact that I'm taking exception to some of the things that were said. This OBA government is not seeking out to have anyone lose their jobs. We've shown that in the budget we have produced for 2014 and 15. We've made the commitment that we would not be laying off any workers. But what we are looking for is a more responsible way of moving forward in how we deal with our disagreements. We find it exceptionally concerning that, we could just down our tools at any time when we're looking at the situation of young kids who are trying to get to school and back, seniors who are trying to get back and forth every day of the week. We would like to see a more responsible way of moving forward on how we deal with our disagreements. And so with that in mind, I've taken on what I've heard thus far. Minister Fay will be having a press conference at 4 o'clock, but it's vitally important that we find better ways of dealing with our disagreements or where we differ on issues, be more swift about how we come to decision making, but at the same time, we are responsible for the whole of Bermuda. And we cannot be holding up the whole of Bermuda because we have slight differences on approaches to things. This has to be about a responsible way of dealing with the people's business. We cannot have down tools without notice that affects everyday lives, especially this time during the economy where people are having a difficult time, where they're relying on the ferry service, where they're relying on the buses. We need our families to be able to function during these times. And that's really where the OBA government is coming from.
The General Secretary of the Bermuda Public Services Union, Mr. Ed Gold Jr., has suggested that perhaps government is not paying enough attention to the human element in all of this.
Well, again, I just spoke to the human element of this. We can't have people downing tools when we're working on behalf of the whole of the country. That's putting people at a disadvantage when in an economy where we're struggling right now, we need to be able to function while still dealing with our challenges. That's responsible. That's how you deal with the people's business. You don't down tools overnight without notice and leave people stranded trying to make ends meet here. That's not the way forward. This is 2014. We've got to find a better way to deal with our issues than downing tools. That's the direction that we must go as a country. We must go this way.
The OBA is becoming more and more criticized as being a party that is not in touch with the average Bermudian and seeming to be governing more for the business sector. How do you respond to that?
Again, I just answered that question. This is.
Let me,
Gary, let me finish what I have to say. I didn't interrupt you when you asked, right?
Go ahead.
We are here for the people. I just explained to you that this is about the people. The budget is about the people. There's no new taxes on families or businesses. We are looking for incentives to get people back to work. This is about the people's business. Everyone. And if we have a difference, we need to approach that difference in a responsible manner. I do not consider it responsible by just downing tools overnight without notice. We are living in a different time where the economy, we are suffering. We have to be acting on the whole of everyone. This has to be about everyone and not just a special interest group. And with that in mind, that's how we are looking out for everyone. The government's job is not just to look at one silo and say, oh, I'm going to fix this part and leave out the other part. The government's job is to look at everyone as a whole and how we move forward. There are opportunities. If you listen to the B.I.U. president, Chris Ferber, just now, he basically stated, well, maybe there is something that we can do about a time frame. He actually just said that. You've got it on tape. And so I believe that is the way forward. And we will seek out those opportunities. We'll continue to talk. But discussions have already been had. You had the deputy opposition leader saying discussions hadn't been had. You have Chris Ferber saying, well, yeah, we did have some conversations.
He said that he wouldn't consider it consultation. There were 3 or 4 chats, more or less.
Well, we can differ on what we consider to be a chat, a conversation, and a meeting. The fact is that stakeholders were put down to the table in a room to discuss the matter. Now, whether or not they decided to spend a half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or how frequently they do it, that is on the stakeholders. And if the B.I.U. was concerned about the frequency of the meetings or the length of the meetings, they should have said something. They should have said something. You don't down tools because you don't agree all of a sudden. I'm taking exception to this. But this, again, is about the people's business. We have to continue to ensure that our young people, all those who are catching the bus, who can't afford to take a taxi, who can't afford, more expensive means of travel like a car or a bike, who are taking the ferries and the bus for a reason. During these economic times, we need to be looking out for the least of those. And that's exactly what the OBA government is doing. And so later on today, we'll continue to have a press conference, but that's all I have to say about the matter for now.
One
Thank
last
you.
question. The union leader, Mr. Firbert, indicated that they would be consulting with the ILO. How do you feel about that suggestion? Because
we'll discuss it at 4 o'clock.
The suggestion is that perhaps government is not covering all its bases before making decisions.
We'll discuss it at 4 o'clock when you come to the press conference.
Are you going to be at the press conference?
I certainly will.
Thank you, sir.